going to go ahead and take a look at writing to files using Python. And you have to be a little more careful with this, again, because, like I mentioned earlier, you can overwrite files with this. The default option, W, will go ahead and start at the beginning of a file and just erase everything else. So we'll keep that in mind when we're doing this. So why we want to import sys, because again, I probably want to use some sort of command line argument. And I'm going to make a program which we'll just print out, or sorry, I'm not going to print out, we're going to just generate, the first n number of perfect squares, and we'll write it to a file, one per line. That sounds like a good test case here. So we want to do our if main block. Maybe we will. Let's see. I want to do an if. Let's say n equals 10 by default. So we'll print that many out, and of course, that'll be, we're grabbing. This is a list of strings. So we might get a value error for converting that. I'll say n must be an integer. And we'll exit because they did it wrong. And then we're going to do just a simple for loop. We want to print out the first n perfect squares. So for I in range of n, we're going to do 1 to n plus 1. That way we actually start at 1 because 0 is not really a perfect square. We're going to want to go ahead and open our file. So I will say open, we'll just call it out for now. And we want to specify our mode is W, because we're writing. And again, we want to do a close on this when we're done, so we're going to just put that in so we don't forget. It's good practice. You won't get any errors, but it's especially important to, oh, sorry. We probably want to actually do that before our loop. There we go. But it's especially important to close a file when you're writing, just so, in case some other program wants to use it or whatever, or if your program hangs up or whatever at some point, that way, the file hopefully does get closed, and you don't get some sort of, corrupted file. So we want to actually do a, let's say fd.write. That was one of our methods, right? We had available to us was write. And let's see what they have to say about that. Just accepts a string argument. And of course it doesn't actually say anything about well, it doesn't give you a warning. But this actually, I'll give you a little spoiler here. It doesn't include a new line when you do write. So we want to write I. And I'm not getting any warnings. I feel like it should want me to convert that to a string, but we'll see. Yep. So this is expecting some sort of string to be passed to it. Just have an integer, so we need to use the str function to convert whatever we're doing here. If it's not a string, convert it to a string. Okay, squares up pi, and let's, so whenever you're running any sort of commands in the terminal, you can put a semicolon between them, and you can do multiple in one line. So I can say that, and then let's actually use our cat program. We made it, might as well use it, and we'll print out the output of that file. Like I said. Oh, also we should probably we said perfect squares, right? Yeah, there we go. But let's run it again. Good point. As you can see, it overwrote our file. But again, we still don't have those new lines. So we can just say, hey, and \n, and now it'll actually put the new line character between everything. So that looks much better. And let's see if our arguments actually work as well. Let's say 125 of them. Oh. Up is greater than or equal to 2. There we go. Otherwise I was not getting the argument. Does that look right? That sounds a little small to me, but I guess not. So hopefully this makes a little sense here. So there's the write lines command, but I rarely use that. I think that's more for if you have a list. So if we had a list of strings, that might be a little more efficient to use, I guess. However, we'd actually have to add the list and put the new line on there, so we can go ahead and change our program to work with that. So let's do this loop before, and we'll say our content of our file is going to be just a list. And instead of writing it, we're going to append that list with a string of that, and then do write lines content. Again, I think this could be faster if you already have a list of strings. Generally in Python, you kind of want to minimize the lines of code that you're doing. I don't know if we'll actually talk about performance like that in this class. Maybe in 201 you'll get into that if you decide to take that class. So let's go ahead and see if that still works. Yep, still works, and probably not any faster in this case, but actually that'd probably be slower in our case because we're basically running through that list twice. Although it is a file operation, so who knows. Now, we might as well talk about appending a little bit here. Let's say we wanted to do maybe we weren't done with that file at that point. Or better yet, actually, let's just make a log file. That'll be a good idea. That's a good example for appending, better than trying to mess with this program. So we'll set our FD variable to a different file this time. And we'll say, let's call it log. There, maybe something better. Squares.log with the A mode. We're going to append to the end of it. And we shouldn't get any sort of error on this. You could, but that would be only because you didn't have permission to write to files. Again, close file and we're done. And we're going to say write. We're just going to write one line to it. And we're going to say that we wrote the first, how many perfect squares? I'll make this an F string. I think we talked about that before. And like that in. So we're just saying this is a formatted string, and if I use the little curly brackets here, I can pass in any variable that I want. In this case, we're doing in. And let's see if this works. And we'll cat our, what's this called? Squares.log. Oop, I did not put a new line there. Oh, wrong line. And I'm going to remove that just since that it's going to look wrong. Okay, and then let's just change it to run it with, I don't know, ding. And I think you get the idea now. But this would be good if you, well, this is how really every sort of program, makes a log file. They just append to the end of whatever file, or whatever content's already in a file. I don't think we'll do too much with writing to files, just because that's extra work for us to kind of look through and make sure everything is, you're not trying to do anything shady. I think that's all I need to talk about here. And again, as always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feel free to contact your instructor and let them know, or visit the online lab hours on Microsoft Teams. We got people there during the normal lab hours that can answer questions for you. So have a great day.